1, 2, I don't know, 3 or 4, maybe a touchdown. How about 12?
You are Locked On Blue Jays, your daily Toronto Blue Jays podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to Locked On Blue Jays. Thank you for making Locked On Blue Jays your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. As always, I'm Braden Iwasco. He's Carter First. You can find us on Twitter, Braden5 Iwasco. Carter First, too, as well on our main Twitter account for the channel, at Locked On Jays. Go follow us on there. Make sure you guys do. We post something after every game. So, and during games, whatever, our thoughts, feelings, you guys can reach out on either any of the Twitters. You can reach out to us personally on the main one. Or you can reach out or follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Locked On Blue Jays. And if you're new here to YouTube, make sure you hit the subscribe button. It does help us out a ton. You get your shorts, your live streams, your podcasts, your videos, all for free. Just hit that sub button so it pops up easier on your For You page, I guess. And it really does make a huge difference to us if you guys do hit the subscribe button. So please do that. A lot to get into, I guess. 12 runs to get into, as a matter of fact. How much do we trust this team? How much does this game mean anything in the grand scheme of things, or your immediate thoughts and feelings? We got to talk about it all, and then of course we're gonna tee up sort of the rest of the series as it is a Friday episode. We go into the weekend, so hopefully we'll make everything a little bit more clear for what's going on this weekend with games. Still 3 more games to go against the Oakland Athletics. The Blue Jays defeat them 12-0. Carter, immediate thoughts and feelings on today's game. I guess, how much fun was it?
Yeah, it's always fun when you score, multiple touchdowns in a game. 2 6-pointers, obviously, for 12 runs. Did this against the Padres, did this against the Mariners. Like, you have the ability to obviously have these massive performances, but it's been the theme of the season, consistently inconsistent. Doesn't matter if you have these runs where you have unbelievable games. Again, a lot of fun to watch these games. If you go on for the next 5 or 6 games, let's look at this last 6 games before this. 6-game road trip. The Toronto Blue Jays go on. They play the Tampa Bay Rays. They play the Texas Rangers. They average 1 run per game over that series. 6 runs in 6 games. Oakland comes to town. Again, Oakland has been on a massive skid. They've been playing some horrific baseball. Their bullpen ERA is over an 8 in May. It's not good whatsoever, and that was before, obviously, this blow-up. So, again, the Athletics not playing very good baseball. But, again, it's tough when you see, again, the ceiling of this team, what can happen. You have Ernie Clement launching baseballs. George Springer, even though he hasn't been playing good, launching baseballs. Vladdy, home run to left center field. You'd love to see that. Bichette continues to be hot. You see what this offense can do in a lot of these situations. But again, I'm taking consistent baseball. I'm taking 2 out of 3 series wins. I'm taking, just competitive baseball games over, you get one of these games once in a while, which is a lot of fun. But if you get the next round of baseball, the next 5 games where this offense is not consistent, and I want to pull my hair out watching this Toronto Blue Jays team, it kind of left me a little bit frustrated, even though this was an unbelievable win by the Jays.
So I want to ask you, because we talked a little bit about this. This was like my main point over the Texas Rangers series, was that's great that we're getting wins, but you get them in a fashion that isn't sustainable. And then you go on, and my feeling is that I wasn't happy. I was okay with those wins. That's great. It's always good to get wins. But at the end of the day, it's hard to see the bigger picture when the wins are coming like that. Now you get a win against the Oakland Athletics that are a ton of runs, and yet we're still not happy. Or we are happy, but it isn't there, right? It's not all coming together because you're looking at a team that was 1-9 going into this series against the Blue Jays. That's a big problem. And I'm
going to, sorry to cut you off, but they're 1-14 in their last 15 games. So this is a team that is playing one of the worst brands of baseball we have seen, debatably worse than the Colorado Rockies. So the Athletics, again, their pitching has just been, especially their bullpen, has been god awful.
Yeah, and I mean, we saw it today. It was horrendous. And don't get me wrong, their offense was not much better. They were pretty horrible. Jose Berrios, that first inning, Carter, was just mowing guys down. For the first 2 or 3, was just mowing guys down.
The whole game, honestly.
Well, the first, I don't know, the first batter of the first inning, it was bang, 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 see you later, thanks for coming out, watching pitches. And don't get me wrong, Jose Berrios, got to tip the hat to him because the location was on today. Everything. He was painting corners with the fastball. It looked fantastic. And this is a game where everything comes together. But it brings me back to the same question. And I was going to wait to pose this to you, but I guess we're here already. So let's get into it. Does this matter? Do you take anything away from a 12-0 victory over the Athletics? Yes, it's great to see that it seemed like all facets of the game came together. But how much do you trust that this was a great game by the Toronto Blue Jays compared to a horrible game by the Oakland Athletics from a horrible team?
Yeah, I'm going to be happy that the Blue Jays won, obviously, and I'm going to be happy going into the day Friday. But in the grand scheme of things, no, this doesn't really matter to me whatsoever. Even just going back and looking at some of the pitches, don't really want to take away a lot from these guys. Again, 12 runs is 12 runs. I don't care who you're playing against. But Ernie Clement's home run was a slider right down the middle. Vladdy cutter right down the middle. Bichette hits a home run. Hits that double in the second inning that was right down the middle. The home run, I can't remember exactly where that was. But again, you got to take advantage of bad pitches. But Jacob Lopez in this game specifically, this season he's been relatively good. This game he was absolutely horrific. So again, I don't want to take away too much from this Toronto Blue Jays team, but again, when you haven't put up a lot of runs in the last 6 games, the Texas Rangers offense not being very good, you win a series there. Again, nice to win a series. I'll be a little bit more convinced if you can take 3 of 4 against this Oakland Athletics team. Now you got to go 2 out of 3, obviously winning the first game. If I was betting all of my props on FanDuel right now with these outright winners with the Toronto Blue Jays, I would be so far in the hole because this team is wildly inconsistent, but I've been trying to predict inconsistency. And I just can't seem to do it, obviously. But in the grand scheme of things, no, this doesn't really change a whole lot from a struggling Oakland Athletics team. Offensively, Jose Berrios, though, absolutely disgusting in this game.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong. This is one big point that we've said going back to last season was that you have to be able to win the games that you should win, right? And then, yes, you're going to have a tough series against of all the AL East teams. Let's be honest. You're going to have to battle and claw your way no matter what it is. It seems like those games are always close. But when you play the Rockies or you play the Athletics or you play some of these teams, you have to be able to win the series and the majority of those games. Like if you win this Oakland Athletics series, you are a game above 500. Or would it be 2
You're
games
at 500. If you go 3 out of 4, you're at 500.
Yeah, but so you have to now use this to get above 500. So I don't know. I'm struggling with where to put my head. I guess is it's a great thing to see. It really is. You gotta hope that this propels some guys out of slumps. Like George Springer was on a bit of a slide. He goes 2 for 5. That's something you love to see with the blast. You want to see that kind of stuff. Alejandro Kirk, 3 for 3. Unbelievable day. You want to see that from him. Bichette, 2 for 4 with a blast. Barger, 2 for 2. Vladdy, 1 for 4. He hits the home run. So there you go. You take that as well. You want to get the power numbers up. Well, these are the games you take advantage. And when you can do something, you get it done. I guess, Carter, we can talk about the pitching staff. I was a little bit shocked that they went Mason Fluharty right after Jose Berrios. I thought that this was going to be a for sure just Jose Urena comes in and you just let him clean up the table. But they go Fluharty for an inning, which I thought was a little bit strange. And then you let Urena come in and finish the job. I guess are you okay with using Fluharty there for an inning, or would have you liked them going straight to Jose Urena there?
No, I think you have to pitch Mason Fluharty because when's the last time this guy's pitched? I can't even think of it off the top of my head. I'm actually looking through the game logs right now because going back to that Texas Rangers series, Kevin Gausman threw 8 innings. He had the Jeff Hoffman shutout, obviously. You had that weird bullpen day. And then I believe it was Chris Bassitt in that second game against the Rangers. So Mason Fluharty hasn't thrown in a while. So that's just what it is, that obviously you're up big, but you need to get a guy into the game. You can't let him sit for 5 days to a week on end. You got to keep these guys fresh. So no, I don't think it was a bad decision whatsoever to throw Mason Fluharty in this game. You have Jose Urena in the next 2 innings, obviously. And one nice thing, obviously, about this game, I'm going to try to leave the negatives again kind of in the first segment here because this was a very good baseball game. If we're looking just at this baseball game, it was a lot of fun to watch, obviously. So just looking at this game in totality, obviously you throw Mason Fluharty again. The big picture is not really that big of a deal. You still have pretty much everyone else at your disposal, obviously, in this series and going in the second game. And another nice thing is that you got to Jacob Lopez right away. And you got to the Oakland Athletics bullpen early on. Again, this bullpen has not been very good anyway. But yeah, if you continue to score runs like this, if you continue to put up big spots, and again, it's a 4-game series, you got to the bullpen early, that's going to hurt the Oakland Athletics, especially how they've been struggling for this last 3 games of the series. So in totality, you put up 12 runs, you get everyone hitting on the Jays, except for obviously Anthony Santander gets 2 walks, but I mean, kind of gifted those walks a little bit. The swings he took in those at-bats, again, still did not look very good. But Bichette looked ridiculous. Alejandro Kirk, you already brought up, looked ridiculous. Ernie Clement, I mean, I'll save him for the second segment because obviously a lot of things I want to talk about with my boy Ernie Clement. Obviously, love to see that he had a very good game. Jonathan Clase, another guy was very good in this game. So a lot of good things to take away from this game. It's hard to be super positive when in the back of your head it's like, hey, we have no idea how this team is going to look in the second game of the series. But luckily for Ernie Clement, there is 2 more lefties coming his way. So he definitely will be starting, obviously, those games.
Yeah, we're going to come back. We're going to talk more about this game specifically, each and some of the players in this and how it might be a slump breaker. But Carter, John Schneider said something the other day, and I wanted to go into this a little bit because I think it is an interesting conversation to have. So I do want to talk about that. I haven't told you about it yet because I want to get your immediate reactions. But I do want to have a conversation around this. So I think let's take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll talk more about the game, then get into John Schneider, everything else, and then we'll tee up the rest of the series going into the third segment. Stick around for us right away. Today's episode is brought to you by Trade Coffee. If you guys have seen me on this podcast, I drink a lot of coffee. It is probably too much, to be honest with you. I drink a ton of coffee, whether it's here when I'm at home, if I'm at work. I always got a coffee in my hand, and it's not really just a drink. It's a ritual. It's sort of my lifeline. The thing that gets you from half asleep to fully functional, and if it's the essentials, why settle for anything less than amazing? That's where Trade Coffee comes in. Trade Coffee is the #1 coffee destination in the U.S., delivering fresh, incredible coffee from over 50 of the country's top roasters. Whether you're a cold brew fan or a pour-over purist, they've got a roast you'll love. Don't get me wrong, I'm a cold brew guy. I'm a cold brew guy through and through. And now we're getting into the summer months, so I'm going to be hammering the cold brews. I got a couple appointments to go to tomorrow, a couple meetings to go to. I am going to have a cold brew coffee throughout the entire day. I can guarantee you that. Right now, Trade is exclusively offering our customers 50% off your 1-month trial at drinktrade.com/lockedonmlb. That's TRADE.com/lockedonmlb for 50% off your 1-month trial. drinktrade.com/lockedonmlb. So, Carter, just some guys that I want to get into. You know what? I know you want to talk about Ernie Clement, and that's one guy I really wanted to have a conversation about today. So I'll throw things over to you. I do want to tee up this John Schneider and sort of what he said and sort of going into a little bit of statistics before this game as well. But give me your thoughts, Ernie Clement, right now.
No, the first thing that we have to jump into is what this guy did during his home run trot.
Yeah.
This guy, Vladdy, all of a sudden, like just, a little bit of poking fun at him, obviously, does that little shuffle step around second base. Such an easy guy to cheer for. I don't know how there's so much hate with Ernie Clement among this Toronto Blue Jays fan base. He's not going to be a guy that's going to hit 15, 20 home runs. He's going to be a guy that plays good defense. Going to be a lot of fun, obviously, to watch. Going to have a good time with the boys. Everyone loves him, obviously, in that dugout. And he's going to be a slap single guy for the majority of his games. But obviously in this game, absolutely hammers a slider that was right over the plate. I don't care where it was. Unbelievable home run. Really got things started, obviously, in that inning. And then you guys have obviously heard this stat, but I have to bring it up on the podcast, obviously. They brought it up on the broadcast multiple times. But Ernie Clement's 5 RBIs. He also had a double in that inning, the 3-run home run, and then a double down the left field line. But 5 RBIs in the second inning. Ties a Blue Jays franchise record for an inning and RBIs in an inning, matching a guy that, again, was okay, I guess, for the Toronto Blue Jays, matching Edwin Encarnacion on January 26th in 2013 against the Houston Astros. That was in the 7th inning. Just, again, unbelievable stuff from Ernie Clement. Again, not the greatest pitches from Jacob Lopez, but, I mean, at the end of the day, you got to take advantage of mistakes, and that is what Ernie Clement did in that second inning.
No, and that's exactly it, right? And I talked about a little bit about this before in the first segment is, your stats don't just come from when you're playing the best players in baseball. They come from when you get a series against the Oakland Athletics. And this is a little bit, I hate to say it, but a stat bump this game. This is a stat booster game for this lineup. And Ernie Clement didn't just take advantage. He took everything. This guy was an absolute beast, and he's a guy that me and you have loved, especially you, but that me and you have loved for a very long time. We saw the potential that he could be in being not. You're right, not a huge power hitter, but a guy that is going to be consistent, that can be a little bit of a platoon in the infield. And you know what, has done his job this season. And yeah, shout out him. If there's any hate towards Ernie Clement, I really don't understand. You know what you're getting from him. So I really will never understand that. But Carter, I mean, I don't know. Like, you go up and down this lineup today, there's not a whole lot of guys that had a horrible day. I mean, yeah, you look at Anthony Santander, that's a guy, I mean, we could talk about for 4 hours. It
Did
seems
have
like.
2 walks, I guess, and there's going to be a silver lining there.
Sure.
But again, I don't know if he necessarily earned those walks, unfortunately. He came in some pretty good scenarios where pitchers just, for some reason, ended up losing their command, it seemed like, in those Anthony Santander at-bats. But just some other guys that had very good games. Jonathan Clase, a guy that, again, at least on this podcast, has been sneakily good and hasn't necessarily been talked about enough about how he has been playing with the Toronto Blue Jays in these last 20 games, just since obviously he's been called up to the Blue Jays. Very small sample size, albeit. But again, you need these guys to come up. You need these guys to produce. You need these guys, again, random guys that can have these legacy type of games and that can win you a few games down the stretch. So Jonathan Clase is not including, obviously, today's game, so these stats will go up a little bit. But in 28 plate appearances, he has a 342 average, 467 on base for a 455 slugging. That's 922 OPS. 18.2% walk rate. That's not going to last, obviously, but that's just how good he's been. A guy with, again, his speed. You want this guy to get on base as much as possible. 27.1 K rate. Again, it is what it is. But 171 weighted runs created plus. Again, these guys in the bottom of your order really producing and really, and especially in this game, allowing your big dogs to come up. And when the big dogs are actually hitting, this offense actually could be, I'm not going to say really good. I'm not even going to say good. It can be at least watchable, and it doesn't make you rather, sit in your room and watch paint dry or make you, count the clouds in the sky when the Blue Jays game is on. So very nice to see, especially younger guys on the Toronto Blue Jays team. Obviously, everyone knows prospect pool isn't that good, and it's nice to see these younger guys having an impact early on.
Yeah, absolutely. That's something that we talked about again in the offseason, is the fact that you needed some guys to step up this year. And to make this team better, you had to have your surrounding pieces be serviceable. And this year, they really have been. The guys at the bottom of the order have been doing their jobs, what you need them to do. It just depends if the big dogs eat or not. And Carter, I don't know if it was from the game against the final game against the Rangers when Bichette walked that, well, not really walked that game off, but, pretty much walked that game off. Going into this game, this guy right now, if you can get Bichette on an absolute heater, well, we'd be in for a month. We've seen Bichette go absolutely insane for months throughout the year before. And maybe is this sort of a breakout month for Bichette, because my guy has 2 home runs in 2 games and he only played in the last one for 1 at bat.
But unfortunately for Bichette, if this is a breakout month, he's only got 2 days left in May. So
I meant
hopefully
to
he can
start June. Yeah.
Hopefully he can wait a little bit and obviously get into June. But I've called out 2 players on this podcast, 2 very good players, obviously. So Kevin Gausman wasn't pitching up to form, and I said Bichette again very recently, because there is still time for stuff to happen. But I said he hasn't been hitting for power. He hasn't been the Bichette caliber player that we've been accustomed to seeing. I didn't say that wasn't going to happen, but I said, hey, he needs to be better. And what does he do? He's hit home runs in back-to-back games. So, I mean, that's a pretty good start for a guy like Bichette, obviously adding a double to that as well, multiple RBIs in this game. You need Bichette if you want this team to be good. If you want this team to even be a playoff contender, you need Bichette to be a better baseball player. Ticked up the OPS like 0.45 already in this game. Again, just a couple of good games can put Bichette kind of over that hump. Same thing with Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Anthony Santander might need a Bo-Tember for the next 3 months to figure that out. But again, that's I have to throw in a ricochet for Anthony Santander. But Bichette, again, continue to look very good in these last couple of games. Obviously, the Texas game, he only had 1 at-bat. But I mean, in this game, it didn't look like the lower back was hindering this guy too much. So it's the entire offense when you talk about stuff like this. It's just, can he do it consistently? Can he do it for a multiple game stretch? Can he do it day in and day out? You don't need him to hit a home run and a double every single baseball game, but you do need him to be productive for this offense to be successful and for this team to ultimately get over 500, the dreaded 500 mark that this team, again, flip-flops over time and time and time again. If you want this team to go on a little bit of a run, it's all going to start with Bichette.
Absolutely, it will. There's no doubt about that. This guy and Vladimir Guerrero Jr. are the driving force to this team, so they have to be good. But Carter, in saying all of that, I have a quote here, or a little bit of a stat, and this is from Blue Jays Today. I did want to give them a shout out because I found this super interesting. And you're going to have your take. I'm sure I'm going to have my take. And I just want to get your thoughts. John Schneider says the Toronto Blue Jays hitters are getting unlucky. And this is what the Blue Jays Today guys have to say, is he might be onto something. The Toronto Blue Jays go before this game, granted, expected batting average was 262, which would have been 7th in the MLB. The actual batting average of the Toronto Blue Jays is 244, which is 18th in the MLB. Now, they pose the question, do you think Schneider has a point here? Do you think the Blue Jays are getting unlucky? I'll throw it to you first because I do have a take on this, of course, as I always do, when it comes to a little bit of, back and forth when it comes to the Toronto Blue Jays. So go ahead, Carter. How do you feel?
Yeah, so obviously I haven't really looked into the stats. Like, this could have just been a hand-picked stat that just is with the average. Maybe there is a little bit more validity to this, but I, again, didn't know you were going to bring this up in the podcast. Obviously couldn't go do any research into this, but the flat-out answer is no. I do not think the Blue Jays are getting unlucky. There is going to be at-bats, obviously, that are productive at-bats. We saw Vladimir Guerrero Jr. in this last game rip a 117-mile-per-hour line drive at Jacob Wilson. Unfortunately, it's right at him. But you have those times that later on in the season or earlier on in the season, whatever it may be, those bloop singles are going to fall. Those pop-ups are going to fall in the outfield as well. So I think for the majority of these baseball plays, these players on the Toronto Blue Jays, unless, again, sometimes you have these really weird seasons where you can get super unlucky. But for a full team, getting unlucky for, again, a 6-game stretch, for a 50-something game stretch at this point, I'm not really buying into that a whole lot. Again, I'd have to do more research to completely dismiss this, but I don't think that this team is getting unlucky. I don't think that is the sole reason why this offense has not been good for this year, in 2024, and in 2023 as well.
Carter, my take on this, it's tough because, again, to me, sometimes guys who just post stats and ask you a question based on the stats, and that's exactly what I did to you because I wanted you to answer it honestly, make me frustrated. Because to me, this shows that, hey, I don't want to say that, but you have to watch the games. It's called the eye test for a reason, because baseball is a game of being unlucky and being lucky. At some points during the year, every team will go through spills and spouts that they have like you said, a ball that's hit 117 off the bat and gets caught, or a bloop single, or a ball that goes off the base, or a ball that, spins foul right at the last second, or spins back fair. We've seen plays that happen. You got to use the eye test. And for me, a little bit of me does feel, at some points, man, this Toronto Blue Jays team has been a little bit unlucky. They have been hitting balls hard. They have been warning track balls. But another little bit of piece of me knows what it's like to play in baseball games and have been there. It's about results. It's not about what I was close to hitting a home run, so you got to give me props. No, a home run's a home run, a base hit's a base hit. And you can do all the right things, and it's baseball. It can still bite you. That's part of the game. That's part of the eye test. Is, yes, you can see that, hey, this guy is doing the right things to be a good baseball player, and things will turn around. But you can also see, hey, this guy has hit 4 straight bunts that a guy has bobbled a little bit, and he was credited with a base hit. So I don't know. It's an interesting question, and I think it was a great question asked by the Blue Jays Today, guys, so shout out to them. But I can't just look at one statistic and be one way or the other. You have to use the eye test. You have to watch the game. You can't just say, well, the Blue Jays should have a better batting average, so for sure they're being unlucky. No, that's just not how baseball works. Baseball works in a little bit of luck. You could have the same pitch to 5 different players, and it could be the worst player out of them all who ends up hitting that ball out of the park. That's a little bit of baseball.
Well, and this is just batting average. Like, it's
not
like it's this huge, meaningful stat. Obviously, batting average does matter, but it's not the end-all, be-all stat that makes or breaks a baseball team. Like, when you look at a guy, for example, like Anthony Santander, typically, or Daulton Varsho, typically, if you're looking at batting average, you're like, oh, these guys suck. We look at Kyle Schwarber. Oh, this guy's horrible. He has like a 200, 210 average, but he's hitting 40, 45 home runs every single year. So, again, average does mean a little bit. But again, you got to use the eye test. You got to say, hey, how are these at-bats looking? Like guys like for Vladimir Guerrero Jr., for example, this guy just hits the ball so hard all the time. The expected stats are always going to be higher than his actual stats because it doesn't take in the baseball element, how good these defenders are. Again, where they're playing, the analytics that go into it, they're shifting towards where Vladimir Guerrero Jr. hitting the ball a lot. Bichette, again, I could see him probably getting a little bit unlucky this year, just with the at-bats, landing a lot of baseballs, sometimes, running into some outs that are a little bit unfortunate. But to say this entire team, the reason, again, that this isn't what they were alluding to, but you kind of, can think of, like, if they're bringing up the stat, there's obviously some sort of reason for it. They're trying to spin it in some sort of way. This isn't the big reason why the Toronto Blue Jays offense has not been up to par this season. So again, it's a nice question to ask. It's a nice talking point, which we're obviously talking about on the podcast. But no, I cannot say that the Toronto Blue Jays are getting unlucky, and that is why they are not having a very good offense this season.
Yeah, and I gotta give them credit. I know what they're doing, and it's to start a conversation. And so absolutely no shade from us to the Blue Jays today, guys. It's just it's a question to ask, and I think an answer that somebody gives tells you a lot about if they're watching games or how they think of baseball, right? Do they look at it as an analytical, if you want to call it a Moneyball mindset, then maybe. But if you look at it from somebody, if you've played the game yourself, you probably understand a little bit of the baseball factors that go into it. If you want to call it the eye test, you want to call it the luck factor. It's all part of the game. And so I think it's just a very interesting conversation. So shout out them. Great question. I'd love to hear them maybe go on their show and hear what they have to say about this, because maybe it would be different than our view. And that's the great thing, right? Some people are more analytically based. Some people are more eye test and baseball's baseball based, I guess. Carter, my man, we want to tee up the rest of the series, but we still have a bit to talk about just on the whole game itself, some other players. I guess before we take a break, is there anybody that you're really still wanting to talk about from this game that we haven't covered already?
Oh, yeah, it's just a little bit more into Jose Berrios. I'm not going to take up too much time for this, obviously, but again, disgusting stuff. Like his two-seam fastball today, especially against lefties, like Lawrence Butler, I just had no chance a lot of the time against this fastball. Again, especially when he starts on the inside part of the plate, it was running a ton today. You could see, again, Jose Berrios, when he's on, you can see his stuff moving a ton on the TV. And again, so many times with that two-seam fastball, just kind of cutting it over the plate, cutting on the outside part of the plate. That was one of his best pitches, obviously, today. 6 innings pitched, but still, that's going to be massive for your bullpen. Again, when you're up 12 runs, does it really matter for the bullpen? But still, getting that leg from Berrios probably could have went longer. They needed him to, but again, with the way things played out, didn't need Berrios to do that. 9 strikeouts as well. That's how you could tell the stuff was really on. It's tied a season high for Jose Berrios. And again, they brought it up on the broadcast. I just want to bring it up one more time for the people here. Jose Berrios is the Iron Man of all Iron Mans. He is Phil Kessel of the MLB. This guy has not missed a start, knock on wood, has not missed a start in his major league career. So it's so hard for pitchers, again, no matter how good or bad they are, just to be available. And the best ability, obviously, is availability. And Jose Berrios is available and has been available throughout his entire career. So just wanted to give a shout out to Jose Berrios. Again, we haven't really talked overly positively about him because he has kind of had a mediocre season. But when these starts happen, when you get the Jose Berrios that we've seen for the last 4 or 5 seasons already, it is definitely fun to watch, especially, when your offense actually scores some runs as well.
Yeah, and you know what? I think the first thing that popped into my mind was when he was cooking through that first inning, and especially the first inning, because we've seen Jose Berrios get sort of taken advantage of in that first inning of some baseball games. And so when he got through that first inning, I'm like, and you saw how the two-seam was moving.
7 Ks through 9 innings. And then, so I want to interrupt as well before I'll let you kind of go into the next segment after this. But Tyler Soderstrom, the at-bats today, was so funny to watch. Jose Berrios had this guy an absolute blender. I know he's a rookie. I know he's a young guy, but it was very fun to watch some other guys, struggle against some good pitching for a change.
Yeah, no, and I said immediately, I was like, soon as Jose Berrios gets through the first inning, I'm like, this guy's soaring. This is going to be a good outing, because that's where we've seen him be taken advantage of a little bit, is being caught off guard early. And then he's been able to fight back through and be okay the rest of the start. But sometimes that first inning kills him. And I think when I saw how the stuff was moving, how he's pitching, the swagger he was bringing to the mound in that first inning, not getting hit around, not giving up a moon ball, not giving up, certain things, I was like, yep, this is going to be a great game for the Blue Jays, at least the pitching staff wise. And that's what it turned out to be. But Carter, in saying all of that, we've been through a lot this episode, it feels like, and it is fun. It's fun to come on here when the Toronto Blue Jays win and win by that margin. But we do have another segment we want to get into. Obviously, we want to tee up the weekend because we did a series preview. But now that we're going into the weekend, we do want to make sure you guys know everything that's coming this weekend for games, pitchers, everything and the like. So we'll be right back after this short break.
Today's episode is sponsored by Supply House. Get the supplies you need for the site that's made for the skilled trade, supplyhouse.com. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the most reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 top brands, you'll find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person. And for the trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free Trade Master program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage. Now it's your turn. Join the free Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That is SH5 for 5% off your first order, and that is at supplyhouse.com.
I do want to say it's sort of a big next few days for us, right? Slow pitch season is underway. Me and you, we got the first mixed game Monday. So I'm pretty pumped for that. I know you are as well. Maybe talk a little bit more about that after the game and see how it goes. I don't know who we play. It might be a tough team, but
it's
I think
a random city team. But again, the people probably don't really care about who we're playing.
Don't care. But we we're getting out golfing. It's beautiful here in Manitoba right now. Besides the forest fires that are going on for those of you living in Canada and know what is happening, a lot of Manitoba is burning.
Northern Manitoba specifically. So we're not too much affected. Obviously, we're getting the smoke and stuff, but yeah, declared state of emergency. So yeah, crazy times obviously right now, especially if you're living in Manitoba.
Yeah. And so it's been a little bit of a hectic time here, especially for the residents of Manitoba. So I hope if any of you listening are from here, that everybody is safe and you got out, you got clear of anywhere. Hope and we appreciate you guys listening to us, and we hope everybody is safe. But in saying that, I didn't want to bring down the mood that much, but it is a pretty prevalent and big issue going on here in Manitoba. Carter, let's tee up the series for the people, the rest of them. 3 games left against the Oakland Athletics. Hopefully the Blue Jays can really take advantage. Who do we got coming on the mound for the next few days?
Yeah, they got for the Friday game, it's Chris Bassitt versus Jeffrey Springs. Ernie and Clement will be in that lineup once again, another lefty, so hopefully he can continue to mash. For the Saturday game, still undecided. They said they want to kind of play with the starting rotation because they do have an off day Monday, so it might be Bowden Francis. That would be the slotted start. I'm not sure if that's the route they're going to go. I think that would make the most sense unless they're going to, short somebody on rest. But the way they have the rest of this series, unless they're really going to do a shift, I think it's probably going to be Bowden Francis. That's against Gunnar Hoglund, again, the former first-round pick from the Toronto Blue Jays. And then on the Sunday, a day game, Kevin Gausman versus JP Sears. You got to like that pitching matchup for the Jays there. For when I said initially when we were doing the series preview, I had them losing the first game. Obviously, that did not happen whatsoever. Then I had them winning the next 2, and then I had them losing that final game. Again, the pitching matchup in that last game, probably the best one of the weekend. But in typical Toronto Blue Jays fashion, they'll find a way. I think, unfortunately, at least I thought, maybe it has changed a little bit. Not really, to be honest. I thought that they might, put up a little bit of a dud in that last game. So I'm still going to go with what I said before. I'm going to go with 2 out of 3. So I guess now, since I was wrong in the first game, I still have them winning 3 out of 4. And before I kind of throw it back to you to get your predictions, I just wanted to kind of go over the schedule and why the series might mean a little bit more because of the gauntlet that the Toronto Blue Jays have. Philadelphia Phillies after this Oakland Athletics series. That will start on Tuesday after the off day. Then you got the Twins for the weekend series, the St. Louis Cardinals, who have been playing pretty good baseball, surprisingly. You got the Phillies again, and then you have the D-backs. So again, some pretty good baseball teams coming up. Some games that you might end up dropping. Again, when you play good baseball teams, it's obviously going to be tougher to win games. Who would have thought, Brainiac Carter first on this podcast to end it here. But obviously, you're playing the Athletics. You're playing a team that is, again, 1-14 in their last 15 games. One of the worst bullpens we've seen in a long time in the month of May. Again, if you can avoid Mason Miller, if you can avoid these close games, this should be a series, again, that you should take advantage of. Should is the big thing with this Toronto Blue Jays team. I think this will really define, again, how the Toronto Blue Jays are and if they can actually remain consistent against a really bad pitching club right now.
Yeah, and you know what I said. I have this team going 3 of 4 this series. I said they needed to. I think it has to happen. Um, and I still think it's going to be that game 3 that is going to be the tough one. I think I just don't know with a little bit of the uncertainty with Bowden Francis going or whoever. Even though I do think it is Bowden as well. Um, I don't know. I really have a lot of faith in Kevin Gausman right now. I think he's found out with the splitter, the little bit of the grip change, the focusing on the grip a little bit more, the focusing on the tunneling. I think that's huge for Kevin Gausman. And Chris Bassitt, I don't bet against this guy this year. He has been an absolute dog. So I think if anything, I have to imagine that, but it's baseball. Again, this team could go up and put, 10 runs up next game, 12 runs the next game, and then literally put up nothing and get one hit. So who do I know? What do I know? But in saying that, it is going to be a fun one. I hope the Toronto Blue Jays can be at least 500 at the end of this series. But we'll have to wait and see. See what they can pull out. See what they can do. Carter, anything specifically you're looking for out of this series? What do you want to see?
Offense, consistent offense. It's really that simple. I just want them again. We don't need 12 runs. 12 runs is great. Like if you want to keep scoring 12 runs, I'm not going to complain about that whatsoever. But if we can get like I want to say even three. Three might be a little low. Let's get 4. If we can get 4 runs consistently all 3 games of this series, I think 2 out of 3 is very manageable if you do score 4 runs. So that's what I'm going to be looking for. I'm going to be looking for Vladdy and Bichette to kind of continue on with momentum from what they got in that first game. Again, some pretty good pitching matchups for this team. So hopefully this can be that little bit of a momentum swing, especially with, again, some of the tougher opponents coming up on the schedule. But I do have one more thing to end this episode. I guess Rogers isn't making enough money off these phone bills because they had to pay Vladdy somehow, and they did make a trade. Again, kind of a nothing burger. But it is Josh Walker going to the Phillies for cash considerations. Obviously, cash is going to be just nice for anyone, who doesn't like cash. So you get some cash for a guy you DFA'd anyway. And the last thing I wanted to bring up is Alexis Diaz just going to the Los Angeles Dodgers. That I don't really have too much to say about it, other than that kind of pissed me off. And I just feel like he is going to somehow figure it out with the Dodgers. And, that's kind of just where I want to leave. I'm not going to get into it too much, but I just did not like that move for the Reds, giving the Dodgers a guy that, again, somehow they're going to be able to fix.
Well, and if you want to know more about that, I'm sure Jeff Carr of Locked On Reds has his thoughts and feelings. So make sure you guys, if you do want to hear about that, go check out Locked On Reds, Jeff Carr over there. I'm sure he has a short or something up about that. So go check that out if you guys want to as well. But always, as we say, as we leave episodes, please hit the subscribe button. Go follow us. Shoot us messages on all of our social medias. We will answer you. We'll get back to you. We'll talk to you. We'll have conversations with you. That's the biggest point of this podcast, is to be able to talk Blue Jays with other big Blue Jay fans. And actually, in our Locked On Fantasy League, we just had a big conversation, or not a big conversation, but a conversation about people's all-time favorite Blue Jays. It was a lot of fun. Some of those guys throwing some stuff in there, so that was a good time too. I got to bring up Josh Donaldson one more time. So, as always, guys, we appreciate you watching. We will talk to you on Monday, hopefully after a huge. No, I guess we wouldn't play yet, but hopefully a fun weekend of golf and chill for once, Carter, for the two of us. It should be fun. Everybody take it easy. Blue Jays wins. Let's go.